wanted to make a point or not, you don't do this.
Right, but
this
see, the funny thing about the Constitution is that it doesn't dictate how or the way in which that I get to articulate my message. I can do it in whatever way I choose.
My father came across legally as a bracero, okay? He had to face racism in the valley.
Yes.
He saw signs that posted signs that said, no Mexicans, no dogs allowed.
That is
Right?
wrong. That's wrong.
So
Absolutely,
think about that.
100%. But in 2016, in today's America, are Hispanics like you and I facing the same systemic racism that they were 50 or 75 years ago? No, there is no question that we are not.
We're not in the same way, but we still face it.
In what way? In what way? Enlighten me how I personally have experienced racist treatment, because I can't think of any way.
I get told all the time, go home, wetback. I went in the U.S.
That's wrong. That's
They
disgusting.
see me and what part of Mexico did you come from? South Texas. I was born in Texas, and yet people see me and they're like, go home, wetback.
Well, that's wrong, and I would agree that there are people in the United States today who are still holding on to some of those racist tendencies and sentiments.
My son is in the military.
Thank you for his service.
And yet I get told this.
That's wrong. That's wrong. And if you're a legal citizen, you have just as much right to be here as anybody else does. And that's not what we're arguing.
That's all I'm saying.
Prices on races, that's another thing, and I want to just hear a little bit more about that. Hi, what's your name? Philip. Kevin.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I have a quick question. So what exactly is the rationale behind this methodology? Creating a sign that puts financial values on different races and ethnicities.
Right. Well, the point was to model the system that the University of Texas uses in its admission practices related to affirmative action, and that's all that we're kind of raising the point.
Okay. Do you not think that affirmative action helps the university to create a
Racists go home.
The thing is that I think that we can create a diversity without the use of affirmative action simply by using merit alone.
Do you not agree that merit and one's opportunity to gain merit is informed by their race and their privilege?
I think that it's, by educational opportunity, by income level, and certainly those are things that need to be accounted for. But race or ethnicity alone, no, I don't.
Do you not think that race and ethnicity inform things like socioeconomic status?
Where does Becky go? There she is.
Hey, go vote so we don't have affirmative action bake sales. Come on. Let's vote, people. Let's vote.
I don't think that because you're a certain color or because you're a certain gender, that should affect your admission.
Go vote.
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you.
Also, don't
That's why I
vote for
can't
University of Democrats.
You never.
Okay. I'm having a discussion with him. I'm
telling
sorry.
you, I'm not having a discussion with you. I'm telling you, Pearl. Becky, bye-bye.
Bye.
Vote for Democrats.
Honestly, not that unnecessary.
Yeah, I know.
He's not really being respectful. Which
No, I think that we have every right to be out here and voice our opinions.
I think so too, but I'm saying you should do it in a different way. You're assigning worth to certain groups of individuals, and I get that you're protesting the policy, but what I'm saying is that the policy is probably overall a good thing, because you're making people who have been disadvantaged their entire lives finally getting a chance to get into a higher tier university and breaking the cycle of racism that we see right now.
So the purpose of presenting this argument in this way is to look at college students aren't responsive to taking events that are passing out flyers. This does draw attention. It's a catchy way to bring up the topic.
Catchy or racist? I think that you can draw a distinction.
I think you and I fundamentally disagree on the issue.
No, I think the issue we disagree on. That you're trying to attract people over here is not right at all. Because you're putting a price tag. You're literally putting a price tag next to different groups of people and saying that Native Americans are worth nothing and that black people are worth a little more.
I don't think that we are doing that. I think the university systems are doing that when they accept
And you're
applicants.
perpetuating this, which is bad.
No, this is an entirely satirical bake sale. That's where you're missing the point.
It could be satirical
So
in
fucked up.
ways that are not offensive.
Hello, hunties.
That's all
I'm so happy to be organizing together. Hello.
Rights come with limits. Do I condone what happened? Absolutely not. In fact, I wasn't even here when that happened. I heard what happened. Not necessarily something. Not necessarily something that I condone. I do think
Not
though,
necessarily?
It's not something that I condone.
Okay, thank you.
It is not something that I condone. I condone things like productive conversation.
Which is exactly
What I would recommend, though, is that rather than doing something like this, perhaps create more direct channels for open dialogue between this community and communities that feel differently, right? So back in June, the Supreme Court ruled positively in our favor on affirmative action. I firmly believe that the quality of my education...
Hey, ho, ho!
These racist orgs have got to go.
Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho! These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho, ho!
These racist orgs have got to go. Hey, ho. These racist orgs have got to go.
But our point was to generate a discussion and clearly
Sure. So let me ask you one last question because I'm genuinely curious. There's something through student government called the Campus Climate Advisory Board, and it brings together students from all different backgrounds and all different walks of life to have conversations in response to events that may be perceived as racially charged on campus. Do you think that it would benefit the student body as a whole for me to convene the Campus Climate Advisory Board and ask them what we can do to better mitigate conflict like this on campus? Do you think it would be beneficial to pull communities from Greek life, from the Spirit Group community, from the Latinx community, from the Black community, just to make sure that all voices are in fact being heard and effectively represented?
Right, absolutely. I would agree with that, but at the same time, I don't think that that's a reason to shut down our event or to try to.
I don't think
tamper with our
anyone's
event.
trying to shut the event down. Right?
You're not, but
the
some of
table
these
is
people
here.
probably are.
The table is here. I think
Well,
the event is still ongoing.
All of our stuff was knocked up, and literally I've been backed up as far as I possibly
Sure,
can.
and again, I don't condone that at all. I do condone. No. I didn't use the word necessarily right then, right? Did I before? Yes, that's in the past. I'd appreciate it if you didn't put words in my mouth. I am here just to make sure that productive conversations are happening. I think it's worth noting that.
We literally had this shit in 2013 and we're having this again. Why? Because they're not educated. They don't have the time to they don't want to be educated. That's the point. There's no point of educating them.
I don't want to be
this
educated.
happened.
Why would I be here?
No, because this shit happened in 2013. Obviously, you didn't learn enough from your ancestors or your like old officers or something. Like, you don't want to be educated. There's no point of having civil discussion with you when you're not going to try to like listen from us.
I've literally listened to everything you said, even though you have been continuously condescending towards me. I have listened to you for the entirety of your time.
I have a question. What was the original purpose of the sign? What was the original purpose of the sign?
The sign was to protest the affirmative action that's used in the University of Texas admissions process.
On affirmative action, like the prices are higher for certain people?
I'm sorry?
Was it like a commentary on affirmative action? Like certain prices are higher for like non-minorities or like
right, and then what we're saying is that translates to that certain groups of people are given a pedestal or given a higher, grade or quota in
so
the
the lower
admissions
prices means
process.
that it would be easier to get into UT. Like that would be the lower prices would like signify that it would be easier to get into UT. Okay, so I have a question. Like, what about class differences when it comes to like resources in certain high schools
Class
and
differences
stuff? Like,
should
how would that
absolutely
be?
accounted for in
But then
the
racial
admission.
differences
If you
come
think class and race are divorced from each
They're
other, you have some more
intertwined.
reading to do.
They are
But to
intertwined.
say that you can't get someone's class without knowing their race is ridiculous. You can, if you did not know
But
my
to deny that there's
still know my
to
socioeconomic
deny
background.
that there is a marriage of class and race institutionalized in this country is completely ignorant and naive, and you have a little bit more educating that you need to get done. Okay.
Hey, what do you think about white women being the group that's most benefited from affirmative action?
I would
No,
love
I'm
to.
talking to her.
I would
White
love to
woman.
see the statistical.
Can you tell us? What do you think about white women being the group that's most benefited from affirmative action? What do you think about that?
I think that candidates applying to the University of Texas should be evaluated strictly on merit and scholarship, not on race or gender. Very simple
What about
message.
class differences?
Can I
That's the
ask a
problem that I would
follow-up
like to
question?
address.
Do you think that things like merit and scholarship are informed by someone's race or inherent privilege?
And their access to better education. I think that your performance on your SAT, your GPA, things like that are important. That's what you should evaluate.
Hey guys!
Excuse me.
Hell yeah. Good.
The racist bake sale is happening again.
Good.
What
Literally.
was the sign
The white people, and then the Hispanics and the blacks, and then the Native Americans get
The bake sale where they're charging people different races, different prices. This is also the same group who had the like find an illegal immigrant on campus and get a gift certificate a few years ago. It's the exact same group, just stirring up racism.
Interesting. Oh, I saw this crowd. It's pretty big.
has like 9,000 kids. And out of the 9,000, it's like 170 black students. We're not eating here. So what are you complaining about?
We have one Hispanic guy who has been the exception to all of the institutionalized racism that we face, so he thinks he can speak for every single one of us. Listen, I'm sorry. I want him to say that he can speak for every Latino who grew up in a border town and low-income schools who's never had. No, wait. I want him to say that he can speak for every Latino who only spoke Spanish and did not have the resources to have their intelligence translated. I want him to say that he can represent every black woman, every black man, every Asian, Latino, Native American person who has a unique individual experience. We have one whitewashed Hispanic who was able to benefit off of his last name, and that's all it is.
Race go home! Race go home! Race go home! Race go home! Race go home!
Don't let white people fool you. Whiteness is everywhere. It's not just in white people. It's these people like this who inherit and perpetuate whiteness every day.
I think we just
Can
got to
you
answer why they
tell me
still
what
haven't been
comment
able
I
to
made
turn
that
Texas
somehow
blue.
implied that I'm the
Because
spokesperson?
they are
I can tell you exactly. I'm a Hispanic man, and I made it here because of my merit. I'm so proud of you because I'm so glad you have the resources. That is not the case. Go to a low-income school where only 10%.
I did go to a low-income
Okay,
school.
and you were the exception, so I'm so
Listen
proud
to
of
him.
you.
Okay,
You were
because I
the
worked
exception.
I've been able to
Yes,
get
you worked
here
for it
because of
the
my
way
own
the rest of
merit.
us did.
Not because
Here's
I
the
got a handout from the
difference.
government.
You're yelling a lot and no one's talking to you.
You're not yelling a
So
lot.
the difference
Wait,
is,
please,
a lot of
come
us started on different baselines. Of course. So why is it fair that someone who starts here and someone who starts here has to work this fucking hard just to get at the same level when this person was born into the
You're not yelling
privilege?
a lot. You're not yelling a lot, okay?
If all you're gonna do is like be respectability politics, it's not conductive to this conversation. I'm trying
I'm
to
not
get my
playing.
point
I'm
across.
not. What I'm telling you.
There's different baselines that we start at, and for you to argue that we have to work 10 times as hard just to get the bare minimum of what people who have privilege get is completely unethical, it's completely unfair, and it perpetuates the institutionalized racism that institutions like this and all across this country are founded on. That's
what I am not saying when it comes to the admissions at the University of Texas is that educational opportunity, where someone went to high school, or their income level of their family
shouldn't matter. Absolutely not. It should not. And I agree. I agree. So the thing is,
if someone's family income was here and someone else's family income was here, and they
but you have to understand. You have to understand that when this income, when the income disparity is like that, the educational disparity is like that as well. Which means we need.
These race wars have got to go, hey, hey! Ho, ho! These race wars have got to go, hey, hey!
Frequency equality
race wars have got to go, hey, hey!
And it is needs to be taken in a country that has bodies of brown, black, and different types of colors that aren't white. We need those types of programs. And I get that you're criticizing affirmative action. I have criticism of affirmative action as well. But to deny that we need equity based off of race and class that are not divorced from each other is completely missing the entire point of what you assume you're fighting for. Anyway, I have work to go too.
Your background, something you didn't have control over. I think that's just quite institutionally unfair.
But what about the intersectionality of people? Like, what about people who have class differences and economic differences and who are?
You're talking to someone who grew up in Southwest Houston. I know those class differences.
But then, what about those high schools over there where people have to work to jobs who don't have the
I think you know what makes a difference.
People have like a resume.
I agree with you. I think you know what makes a difference. I think the state of Texas should fund higher education up to 362, which is what millions. That's what we've asked, and so we're gonna progress towards that. I think that's how
we're
you
not
deal.
asking that you hold people to those same standards. I'm saying in the admission practices that you can absolutely take into account educational opportunity, income level, socioeconomic status.
But that comes along with race. They're connected to race.
You do not need to know my race and ethnicity to know my socioeconomic status, to know where I went to high school.
It's a conversation that's happening between people in favor
of getting rid of affirmative action resulted in significantly lower numbers of African American, Latino, and Native students at this campus. Would that matter to you at all? Does that matter? Does that consequence matter?
I think that you can still achieve the same amount or very close to the same amount of the diversity that we have on this campus without affirmative action specifically, and maybe devising a program that takes into the
Does that matter?
For a lot of
do you
people,
think we can open up the conversation without having an offensive sign posted? Like we can have an open dialogue that you can invite the whole campus to without having a sign like that
posted. The funny thing about the First Amendment is that it doesn't matter in what way that I try to limit.
Rights have limits.
Like this could be prevented.
Rights have limits.
But if you're having to say I support the First Amendment, then you probably don't support the First Amendment.
No.
Right. Just.
There are consequences to the words you say. This is the consequence.
This is the consequence of what?
Of the words that you put out on this table.
And the really hateful rhetoric that you have displayed on the sign.
Exactly.
Right.
You cannot put financial values on people's race or ethnicity.
Is it not symbolic at all to put
that.
the word free next to Native American? Is that not telling of that story at all?
Yep.
Is that not upsetting? It's obviously upsetting to everyone standing here.
Sure. And I support their right to come up here and have an honest conversation about it.
Without having to be angry, because you invited a situation like this.
I'm not angry.
I know, but we
I
are.
can tell
You
you,
can see why. You can see why we're upset.
But here's the thing: we're not angry.
You don't have to be.
We're trying to defend our position without getting
I'm sorry that having a different opinion than you makes you angry, but I am still allowed to do
That
that.
makes me angry. It's the fact that you presented it in such an offensive format. You can present it in a way where I can have a discussion with you calmly and not feel like I want to get in your face. I got it.